So good morning once again. The last time that we met, we were discussing case study development, and we discussed how to structure a case. We also talked about what a case study is, and then what are the key components in a case study. And by the time we got to the end of the session, we had to discuss collecting data and ensuring reliability. But before we do that today, I just want us to take our time and then look at the the sample case study I have shared with you through Zoom, and it's also on our online learning platform in Sakai. I trust you can all hear me. Please, if you can hear me, let me know in the chat. Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. Okay. So what we'll do today is to look into collecting data and ensuring validity and reliability. I know you have some questions from case study. I will answer them. Today is much more of a brief session. And so after going through what we want to do, I'll answer all your questions. Okay. And once again, you are welcome to this morning's class. Now, when you develop a case and when you are developing a case, there's something, a number of things that you should think about in terms of ensuring validity and reliability. Some of these measures are more for quantitative studies, but still they tend to matter when you are discussing qualitative studies. So I'll draw our attention to them as we go on. I'll draw attention to them as we go on. I'm adding another paper that we'll be looking at later so that you could also download it. I think you have all the papers now. Okay. So the first one is construct validity. Construct validity. Now, construct validity refers to the fact that if you have a construct that you want to measure, you want to make sure that you have got all the operational measures for that particular construct. Especially if the construct is a quantitative, has been used in a quantitative dimension before, you should know the measures that have been established by scale to measure the quantitative, that particular variable quantitatively. Then you should find a way of taking the items and translating them into a qualitative set of questions, and then use them to collect data from the field. Sometimes students may have a variable, but when the field, the variable may mean something else to somebody. I can give a very simple example like the variable um, qualification and then level of education. Sometimes students confuse the two. For example, when you're talking about qualification, you are referring to a particular um, attainment of an academic level in which it is certified by an institutional body to show that the person has attained that particular academic level. So if I say I have a BSc qualification, you can realize that I can show my BSc certificate. However, my level of education could be um, MSc in accounting year one, in which I have started my MSc program in accounting. I'm in year one, so the level of my understanding has been built up to year one of accounting in my graduate program. However, if you ask me today that where is my qualification, I will only show the one that I have in my BSc accounting. So let's try to understand the differences very well. Whenever you are measuring a variable, you should know the construct of the variable that you are trying to measure, and then the measurement variable, the measurement items for it. But because it's qualitative, sometimes some students think that it doesn't matter, it's not important. But it tends to matter. It tends to matter a lot. It tends to matter in understanding the measure that you are supposed to use to operationalize the variable. Now, I just want to switch to another screen and show you something. The paper I just added, the paper titled Information Development by file name. But that paper is on preliminary insights into influence of mobile phones in micro trading activities of market women in Ghana and Nigeria. So in this particular paper, we conceptualized that we wanted to, wow, I don't think I see my screen. Okay. We conceptualized that in this particular paper, we conceptualized that we wanted to understand a number of things concerning how women use mobile phones to trade. So one of the variables that we had in it were, okay, if you look at it, you have perceived usefulness. Perceived usefulness, we're using the technology acceptance model, which is a modified formation of it. Perceived usefulness of a system is defined as the extent to which individuals believe that the new technology will enhance their tax performance. There is extensive research on information systems that provides evidence of significant effect of perceived usefulness on usage intention. In terms of mobile commerce, mobile phones play a key role in enhancing interpersonal communication, which is also a key factor in establishing business relationships. Therefore, as market women assess the role of mobile phones in social and business communication, their perceived usefulness will influence their intention to accept and adopt mobile commerce. Based on the discussed literature, it can be proposed that, so then we develop a proposition. Somebody will say it was a quantity, so they say we develop a hypothesis. We develop a proposition. Perceived usefulness will influence the intention of traders to adopt mobile commerce. So when we went to the field, the other variables there, when we went to this was the model. So you have got perceived usefulness here, and it was measured by cost, communication, and convenience. So perceived usefulness in terms of cost, perceived usefulness in terms of cost savings, in terms of communication enhancement, in terms of convenience that the customer may get. Now, where did I discuss that? So if I go back to the study, I give this one, and then I had discussed earlier that these are the benefits of getting the mobile phone. So look at table 2 here. The benefits continue entail cost, communication, and convenience, which is the three C's in marketing. So I discussed them earlier when I was discussing my work. So if you look at it here, I want to try and look it for you. Okay. Mm, okay. Okay. So, for example, say that personalization not only enhances the perception of the seller, but also decreases the searching cost and effort to navigate the wireless sites. Convenience and communication are benefits derived from this feature of mobile commerce. So I mentioned one here. Then I went on to said, okay, Boateng et al. Discussed the value-added benefits of mobile commerce as comprising cost savings, convenience, is it cost savings and improving operational efficiency, convenience in work and productivity, and communication and improving information quality and in relationships. The authors note that these benefits relate to the three C's as used by Kalakota and Winston to examine the direct impact of IT commerce in this particular context on business performance. In relating these features of the potential benefits we accrue, this research proposed a feature benefit model. So I went on to explain what cost refers to the cost reduction and operational efficiencies which a customer may accrue. And then I went on to also mention convenience refers to any time and anywhere access to information. Communication refers to improving community information quality in relationships. Okay, so then after explaining these things, when I went on to discuss perceived usefulness, I was referring to the usefulness of the phone. So I was referring to the three C's. So if you look in my particular model, perceived usefulness was going to be measured by looking at the cost savings, by looking at the perceived communication benefits and the perceived convenience benefits. So if when we said that you are doing a study, but make sure you are establishing internal um, make sure that you are establishing internal validity. Construct validity. Our objective is to make sure is to emphasize that whatever you are measuring, you know that you are measuring the actual construct, not that you are measuring something else. So you should be careful of what you say you are measuring in the study that you are carrying out. You should be careful of what you say you are measuring. Whatever you say you are measuring should be what you are supposed to measure. So identify the correct operational measures for the concept being studied. It means that anytime you have a concept in your work, note that you need to understand how you're going to measure it.
what is going to be the characteristic items which will actually tell you that what you are measuring is what you are is actually acceptable within the academic discipline that you belong to. So please note that first, the first thing, cultural validity. It's important in qualitative. People don't take it for granted. Oh, I'm not doing qualitative. I don't need to have cultural validity. You need to understand that the construct may be perceived. You are measuring perceptions of people. The perception you have, there could be a gap between that one or your understanding of the variable as compared to what the person you are interviewing will have. So make sure that what you have on your questionnaire, the person that you are asking the questions with has an understanding of what you are trying to do, the questions you are trying to ask. So to be able to achieve construct validity, what happens is you make sure that you use multiple sources of evidence, you establish a chain of evidence, and you review your draft case study report. What are we trying to say? Whenever as you're collecting your data, first of all, you should have reviewed the papers that existed earlier to know the actual appropriate measures for it. Then when you are collecting the data, you also have to interview the person that you are interviewing. When a person tells you that, oh, I have experienced benefits in using the mobile phone, and the person tells you that, oh, he got this type of benefits, you want to actually check, is it true? So let me just show you an example. Going back to our um, our study. Look at this one. Okay. So I'm looking at case A, potato trader. Potato trader is by in the case study, and then I'm looking at some of the examples of what she was perceived usefulness for. So there's a number of quotations from her. Okay. So she says that here, the cost of traveling from village to village could be saved if there were a better network coverage in those villages. Hence, the farmers might also have their phones and are able to communicate directly. Therefore, there'll be less or no journeys to make. Okay. And if you look at it up here, communication is strained and quite often not timely, since telephone booths or commercial communication kiosks are few in rural areas. Due to the limited coverage in the potato farming areas, Hajia does not consider substantial investment in equipping Amina with a mobile phone worthwhile. She comments and then she commented on it. But throughout her discussions with us, she could actually tell you why she adopted the mobile phone and what she was using the mobile phone for. And then I exchange information between myself and customers faster as they call to inquire when the truck of potatoes will be arriving and how much of it they want. This was not the case before I owned the mobile phone. So here you can see you can see cost savings. You're also seeing that there is also convenience in terms of information flow, communication benefits in terms of information flow and information exchange. So you can see examples of that. What I'm trying to emphasize here is that whenever you say that you have measured a variable, you have to have different sources within your data showing that this thing I said I saw. This is our evidence for it. So this is one coming from the quotations the person was saying. Another one that I can show you is let me see if I can find it. So you go here. Okay. Another one I can show you has to do with, look at this. Monthly income ranges as among selected trader groups. So rice, potato retailer. So Hager's potato retailer, her income is monthly income is $77. And the recharge card that she actually buys for if she buys $4 in a month, it's 20% of her salary. If she buys the $10 one, it is $35 of her, is 52% of her salary. So this potato retailer was, I think, buying the $4 one, and she was using that particular card. So it was just 20%. It was helping her generate more value. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that now I'm looking using even the income of the person and just supposing it with how much she spends. You have to see whether it's even useful and beneficial for her to use a mobile phone.
So I'm now using a table and some statistics to support my argument. So you can't just say that you have found cost savings. You can't just say that you have found communication benefits. You can't just say you have found convenience benefits. You need several instances in the work, not just one instance, to be able to illustrate that this is possible. To be able to illustrate that this is possible. That's why whenever you are measuring, if you realize what we said in our if you realize what we said in our case study, whenever you are measuring a particular variable, make sure that what you said you are measuring is what you are measuring. So multiple sources of evidence, establish a chain of evidence. So a chain of evidence means that whatever you show, there's some logical flow between them. If the person gains some benefits, statistically, if she's spending too much more on the phone as compared to how much she's able to transact and earn from the phone, it's not realistic. So that one should actually corroborate the fact that of what she's telling you. After asking her the information and doing the statistical checks, in terms of finances, you should be able to link the two together and see that there is a chain of evidence supporting that A or Hajia is actually benefits from the mobile phone. I check her finances, I check what she spends on the phone, I check the value of business she's getting. I can say, oh no, there's a relationship. There's a relationship. And also, we also expect that in your case study report, when you are putting it together, you show this particular composition of how this thing occurs, how there is enough information to link or to support the variable that you are measuring. I'm measuring perceived usefulness. I'm broken it into three. One is cost, one is convenience, one is communication. Where are the evidences in terms of the quotation of the person to support what I'm saying? Number two, where are the other statistical evidence that can support what I'm saying? So you have to map them together, and that should be reported and well documented. So if you review, but when you are reviewing your report, you realize that there could be gaps. Oh, this one, I don't have enough information on it. I'm claiming that there is cost saving, but I have only one example. Can I go back and look at my data or even collect more information from the woman to show that this, what I'm saying is true, to show that what I'm saying is true, show that what I'm saying is true. So please note that you cannot just say what you have said and you think that everybody will believe it and think that it's a truth. You have to show that there is evidence for that. There's evidence for that. There's evidence for that. Okay. So now let's go back to what we were saying earlier. Okay. Now the other point is, please, which slide are you seeing? Are you seeing slide 38? I don't know whether you're seeing slide 38. Are you seeing it? Okay, good. So going back, oh, good. Thank you, Patrick. Going back, we now have to look at internal validity. Internal validity. Internal validity focus on seeking to establish a causal relationship where certain conditions are believed to lead to other conditions. Okay. Now, when we say certain conditions are believed to lead to other conditions, we are trying to point that there is a pattern. This is not about a chain of evidence. There's a pattern. A pattern means that actually, when I look at the data that I have, I could also see that there is, before an argument is placed, there is enough and sufficient but data to warrant my argument that I put across. So if I look at it, this is different from looking at it here and seeing the same thing here. That could be establishing patterns and watching them. But you have to make sure that before a statement, an argument is put across, is there enough information to be able to sufficiently back that or make this one plausible? Because sometimes some students have got spurious explanations or evidences. This thing just shows up and say, how did it happen? And what possibility did that thing happen in? Okay, so let's look at an example here. I'm now looking at the market women paper I gave you. That was the first paper I gave you. So I want us to, I'm going to go to that one. And so I show that one to you. Okay. And please, can you see it? I want to know. Patrick, can you see it? I'm showing the market women paper, mobiles and micro trading. Can you see that? You can see it. Good. Okay. Now I thought it was not showing. Okay. Now let's go down the paper and then try to look at some of the cases. Okay. Now this is AA. AA stories about what she does with her business. Okay. Now, let's just look at the beginning here. Auntie Akosia, hereafter referred to as AA, is a tomato retail trader, number one. She has junior high school level education, number two, and has been working as a tomato retailer since 2008, number three. AA works with Jane, number four. So all of these are background information. This background information establishes the context in which the case is taking place in, so that when we put arguments across later, it can have an evidence to support it. So if you scroll down, I said the availability of text messaging function is an added advantage for A, since it is for cheaper to send text message than to make a voice call. She uses text messages alongside voice calls to communicate frequently with customers. So one, I'm establishing that AA can text. The only way I can show that AA can text is that I have given you number of evidence. One, AA is educated. Number two, AA owns a phone. Number three, AA is cost of operating the phone, the cost table in table one. I don't know where table one is. This table one. This is the cost of buying the phone, the cost of buying a used handset. AA bought a used handset. Okay, so the cost she can also be able to afford it. Number three, I can show that AA is using the phone, but she's using it for a particular reason. So that I can hear from AA's own comments, AA's own words. That is that the interview that I've done, she has expressed herself in her own words and saying that most of my customers are in the working class, meaning they do not have much time to come to the market. I therefore call or text my customers periodically and ask them that if they are in need of any tomatoes and deliver them at their office. Now, there are a number of things taking place here. This is all trying to point out what she uses the mobile phone for, and she can text. And I've established evidence of ability to text. So there's a logical chain of evidence. One, there is also a pattern that is showing that there are things that are able to give you enough information to be able to give you the confidence for you to believe that she can text. Number three, even this statement that she has made here, most of my customers, this particular statement we can all read here. This statement that we have here, what we can see is that AA even establishes some internal validity within this particular case. First of all, she points out that her customers are working class, number one. And then she explained that what I mean by working class is that they don't have much time. So I have to deal with them by calls and text messages. So the premise of the business relationship here is to deal with that this type of customers are busy people. So because they are busy people, I have to take the business to them. And taking the business to them means that I have to call them or text them and ask them what they need. Then when I tell me what they need, I can be able to send the produce that they want to buy to them. So in this scenario, there's even internal validity in the same statement she's made. If she just went ahead and said that, oh, there are customers, I text them and then I text them periodically and I just give them and ask them what tomatoes do they need and I send it to them. I'll be asking questions that, so every customer, just text the customer and ask them what tomatoes, what order do they want to make and just send it to them. Why would you want to spend much money trying to send to all your customers? Because they are plenty. They are quite a lot. And in a marketplace, if you move around, sometimes you may also lose. You also come to your shop. So what we see is that AA is managing the business in a particular structure. One of them is that she realized that there are some group of her customers who are busy people. So she has to treat them differently than those who can show up at the marketplace. So, and because of that, she's able to do that more, give them a personalized service. Now look at next statement. The mobile phone enables AA to keep record of contact details of her customers. Other tools like calendar and alarm in the mobile phone are also used by AA. He said that I have created, listen, some of the customers have even scheduled with me the specific days for which they will need the tomatoes. I therefore created reminders for them on my phone so that I don't forget them. Therefore, I do not need to be at the market every day. So all of this is coming together to establish a pattern that AA is using text messages and the text messages and the mobile phone functionalities and the mobile phone functionalities are generating specific value to her. So in your internal validity, what we want to try and achieve is that you have given enough information. You now give us enough information to believe that it is plausible for this to occur. So what does she do? She does explanation building. She explains herself what is explanation building. Before, if you look at AA's story, when she was most of my customers are in working class, meaning they do not have much time to come to the market. I therefore have built an explanation why I do something. Explanation building is there. Then also you can see that I said that you want to do pattern matching. What did we do? We're establishing patterns of the issue being occurring not just more than once, but there are many opportunities that you can see from the case study that the woman is being proactive. The woman is using the mobile phone in a particular way, using the functionalities. So we began by establishing and understanding that she can text. Then we told you that she does like texting more than voice call. Then we went on to show you why she texts and what she texts for. Then we went on to show you that because of that, it leads to another business functionality in which she starts now doing scheduling and deliveries. And the scheduling and deliveries are hinged on ability to create reminders on the phone. So if you look at it, one, there's a chain of evidence. Number two, there are patterns that actually make the occurrences corroborate with each other or plausible. So please, you can't just say something and think it will just occur. You need to be able to see within the data, are there, this is just an instance, is there another occurrence of this particular managerial skill or managerial style of the woman, so that I can say that this is a true, there's enough evidence to substantiate the fact that the woman is gaining some empowerment from her business, from the fact that she can be able to use text messages and calendars to streamline her supply chain, streamline her deliveries, and have better control of inventory, have better control of supply and delivery to customers. What is she doing that? She's doing that, and how is she doing that? She's doing that using this particular explanation that she has given here. So please, when you want to establish internal validity, sometimes you also have to address rival explanations. For example, you say something here, and there could be other possible reasons why the thing is occurring. So what then you do is that you have to also give another view of the issue so that we can know that, okay, even though there's this perspective, this other perspective also gives an explanation so that we can actually link them together. Now, let me see if I can find an example of rival explanations for you. Rival explanation. Rival explanation just tend to depict the fact that there could be other possible competing reasons why something is working or not working. So why don't you look at all the other reasons and just look at one reason? And sometimes, and then when you get your analysis, you can rule out which of them tends to be much more plausible, much more evident that it is what is operating or helping the woman run her business. Okay, so going back to the mobile case, so let me see if I can find rival explanations. Okay. Okay, I don't think for this case study we have that much in it. Okay, but it could be not rival, but much more corroborating or complementary explanations instead of the ones that are going in this particular case. In this particular case, you have more complementary. Okay, so look at the maize retailer. Maize is a seasonal produce that requires cost-saving techniques in its trading activities. The old maize, dry maize, is preferred to the fresh one. For this reason, planting and harvesting are well planned by farmers. Okay, maize wholesalers buy produce from farmers in villages and sell to retailers in Accra. Grace is a maize wholesaler who has 4 retailers in Accra. She has primary school level education, and then she learned the trade from her mother. She uses Nokia 3310, two of them, and subscribes to MTN and Tigo services. The mobile phone has made it easy to carry out her transactions more efficiently. And she does not have to travel frequently to do her business unless she has to go around to collect her payments. Okay. Now, this she does once in a month. Grace explains that I don't need to come to Accra to supply the maize. All I do is to take orders on the phone and hire a truck to send the commodity. I do not have to put my life at risk by making unnecessary journeys. Mobile phones make Grace more accessible to her customers, thereby enhancing her confidence in trading with her. She mentions that the supply of maize is controlled by monitoring prices on the market. Prices determine how much goods should be supplied at a point in time. I'm able to send simple text messages to inform customers on the maize prices and delivery times. Customers are able to monitor trucks that bring commodities to Accra. This enables the customers to plan for contingencies. Okay. The timely delivery of trade information and enhances decision making in transaction and therefore contributes to reducing actor motivation costs. Without a mobile phone, it will be difficult for Grace to coordinate her activities more readily. Now, what you are seeing here is the case study of Grace, a very mini case that explains what Grace uses the mobile phone for. Now, what you're also seeing here is that there are several different explanations that kind of complement each other. And sometimes they kind of be in the opposite direction, but they are all trying to emphasize why the business needs mobile phone. The first thing is about the seasonality of maize, which she established, the case study established in the beginning. And that is also confirmed by Grace by saying that the supply of maize is controlled by monitoring prices on the market. The second issue has to do with the fact that because of that seasonality, the produce itself has to be monitored in terms of the time it counts by the customers. And the mobile phone is what enables the customers to be able to do so. Then we also point out that she is able to carry out her transactions more efficiently and does not have to travel frequently unless she has to go around doing to collect payments. So now you see another explanation here that kind of be a little bit contradictory because somebody asked that, can't she use mobile money to be able to do this particular one? So why she had to go around? Okay, at the time that we were doing the case study, mobile money, though, even though it had been in Ghana, we didn't see that kind of usage within the market women we have here. But what she is pointing out here is that she does not need to travel frequently to do a business unless she has to go around. So there could be a reason why she could look at it. Now, what we are trying to emphasize here is if you want to establish this internal validity, look at all the possible reasons why something could be and possible reasons why it could not be, so that we can have a better understanding. What we are seeing here that the woman does not travel frequently. Why? Because of the mobile phone. But there could be a possibility that she could travel. So that other view is also being presented here. And it goes on to say that because of that, she does that one once in a month. So you realize that her business is gaining more value because she only moves around because she wants to go and collect payments. And even if the mobile phone can do that, that one will be eliminated. So this rival or the other side of the issue is also that it's even indirectly supporting our argument that mobile phone is needed in the business. And that's why she concludes that without mobile phone, it will be very difficult for Grace to coordinate her business more readily or more efficiently. So here we have seen an example that if in looking at one particular perspective of information you are looking at, look at the other side. The other side of the issue could also give you more information to support what you are saying. What was the other side in this particular example? She has mobile phone, so she doesn't travel. But she only travels because she has to collect data, collect payments, and she does that once in a month. So I'm trying to explain to you that even though she doesn't travel, we don't expect her to travel. The mobile phone has eliminated the need for travel. Traveling takes place. But that traveling that takes place is because of mobile phone, she herself, she has not begun to learn how to use the mobile phone to handle payments. And if she learns that, it can give her a better understanding, a better approach in addressing that particular challenge. That also tells you that the level of value you gain from the mobile phone is directly related to how much you are able to and the intimacy between the mobile phone functionalities and services and the businesses that you have. So when you have higher intimacy, now you see how a rival explanation is helping you. When you have higher intimacy, that means that you are able to find other your business operation is able to find an intimacy in business phone functionality. For example, the need to talk to customers is tied, it has an intimacy with the voice call and text messages. The need not to move around has an intimacy with ability to call and schedule and then and schedule or schedule deliveries, schedule deliveries and pickups. All of these things have got some functionality that is supported by the phone. So if Grace could even add mobile money to it or mobile payments, it will even increase the value she will be getting. So she will not even need to move around that much. She will, unless she go to deliver the product, because the product has to be consumed physically. She then may gain more value from using the mobile phone in the business. So the rival explanation now here gives you another perspective of the data analysis, or gives you another perspective of your findings, which can also come back to enhance the fact that the readiness of the value you gain from the mobile phone, it depends on the readiness of your network or your network of suppliers or your network of trading partners to also use the mobile phone intimately in their business. If your customers are not using the mobile phone in their lifestyle, it's very difficult to help them monitor delivery times with the mobile phone. Number two, if you are able to find different services on the mobile phone with the operations that take place in your business, the much more the degree of intimacy will show the degree of value is related to the degree of value that you may obtain from using a mobile phone in the business. Why am I able to say that? I look at the rival views that I can see in the data, and it's giving me a different understanding, and I can get much more better picture of how the mobile phone is changing the business. So rival explanations matter. Then you also have logic models. If this is this, then it can lead to that. So you are trying to build some kind of understanding that there is a link between the occurrences, and the link between the occurrences causes other things to happen. We can say, for example, at the end of the case that, okay, we can say an example at the end of the case that the timely delivery of trade information enhances decision-making transactions and therefore contributes to actor motivation cost, reducing actor motivation cost. Without mobile phones, it will be difficult for Grace to coordinate her business activities more readily. Now, what we are trying to say is that the timely delivery of the trade information, which is enhanced by the text messaging and the voice phone calls, it helps in decision making in transactions on both the side of the customer, the side of the trading partners, and the side of Grace. Number two, it therefore contributes to reducing actor motivation costs. Actor motivation cost is the cost associated with actors not being motivated to complete a deal, or cost of compliance in a particular business transaction. For example, sometimes a customer may start that, oh, I'll buy. And by the time you realize, when it gets to the decision point, he will say that, oh, I'm not willing to commit that much money for it. And then it will never lead to a purchase. So the actors are tied into the relationship because I am talking with them. Grace is talking with them. She's calling them. She's sending them text messages. She's giving them personalized services. So indirectly, they are getting reduced cost in trying to track all the produce that are the tomatoes that they need, the maize that they need to buy. And Grace is also being able to maybe give deliveries to them, so they are able to remove the transportation costs. All these things become very a tie-in, so that she's tied into a relationship with Grace, and she realizes that there are higher switching costs. If I leave Grace and go to somebody else, I'll lose that much. I would like to work with Grace. So by the time you realize in this particular one, it has reduced other motivation costs, it has enhanced decision making, and indirectly it has supported the business in generating more value. So I can only say that because logically I can see that there is a link between all the the different benefits that we are giving. And when we put the different benefits together, we can actually draw a very good picture of what is occurring here. Okay. So the next thing is we should look out for is is external validity. External validity is defined as the domain to which the study findings can be generalized. You have to be very careful that you don't do one study here in one particular context A and say that it can affect all the other contexts like context B or context C. You should know the unique characteristics of context A and say that if you want to say that that same thing that you have seen in A can affect B, then B should have the similar unique characteristics that could actually have a relationship that can be compared to A, so that you can see that if it's happening in A, it can also happen in B. Now let's look at an example in page 57 of the paper one. Paper one is the one on the market women, so I think page 57. So okay, so page 57 in paper one, what is this? So we should look at lesson three. Lesson three. In micro trading activities, the benefits obtained by the trader tends to be partially influenced by the extent of mobile phone usage by the trader and other actors and customers and trading partners in the value chain. Okay, so that is one thing that we have said. We are not saying that in all activity. We are saying in micro trading activity because we realize that in this particular study, we are looking at micro trading activities. So our conclusion here should be on micro trading activities, not on all business activities. Number two, we are saying that the benefits obtained by the trader tends to be influenced by the extent of mobile phone users, which I mentioned, like the intimacy of use by the trader and actors in the and that's customers and trading partners in the value chain. That means that if your customers and trading partners are not ready to use the mobile phone, you, the trader, will get more or less value from the mobile phone. So if you look at this particular, conclusion, the conclusion is externally valid because it's being applied to micro trading activities. I didn't say that in all developing countries because what we looked at is just one country, that's Ghana. But we looked, but our study was on micro trading activity. So we're looking at a particular phenomenon. And when we're studying the phenomenon, we came to identify that in studying this phenomenon, we see a pattern in which a mobile phone trader is gaining benefits because her other customers and her trading partners are using a mobile phone. So we can then say that in micro trading activities, the benefits that the trader will receive is influenced by the extent to which the mobile phone is used by the trader and the actors, the trader and other actors, that's the customers and the other trading partners in the value chain. So I am not extrapolating it beyond micro trading activities. I'm staying within micro trading activities. I'm not going beyond the phenomenon of study. That is one thing we say about. And how did I do it? That's one thing we say about external validity. How did I do that? To ensure external validity, you use theory in single case studies or use replication logic in multiple case studies. So there should be a kind of a pattern that shows that it happened here, it happened here, it happened here. So I have enough evidence to say this particular thing. So let me then go back to the story to check whether I was able to use, this is a multiple case study, so I should use replication logic. So let's read it. Okay. Okay, so however, the extent of using a mobile phone is mediated by affordability and accessibility of the mobile services. Concerning accessibility, the key challenges to the use of mobile phones were observed to be network failure, drop calls, and cost of airtime. These challenges encourage traders to have more than one mobile phone subscription in order to stay connected to trading partners and customers. One, poor network coverage and network failures in rural areas where farms are located often affect communication with trading partners. Wholesalers like grades find it difficult to communicate with customers in Accra when they travel to some villages to buy maize from farmers. Hence, Grace subscribes to two mobile network operators and uses the high cost of mobile phones and the initial connection charges and uses the operator with uses the operator with better network coverage depending on her location. Okay, concerning affordability. So now Grace is having two mobile phones, and she swapped between the mobile phone because of what? Depending on her location to get better coverage and better connection with her customers and with her trading partners. Now she also says that number two, concerning affordability, the high cost of mobile phones and initial connection charges is another barrier. Traders, as with trade and Grace and AA, usually purchase used mobile phones. They also consider top-up airtime vouchers to be inexpensive. Since since sorry, since low denominations are available, promotional services which offer reduced call tariffs to favorites, family, and friends are primarily used by most small businesses and micro enterprises to communicate with key customers. Therefore, even though some retailers earn more low income, they still find it beneficial to own. They still find it beneficial to owning. They still to own mobile phones by keeping the cost of owning and operating the mobile phone low. In case A had to purchase two mobile phones, one for her and one for Jane, her employee. Okay, to subscribe to the same mobile network. Thus, the use of mobile phone technology in trading is determined by the readiness of actors in transaction to own or access and use a mobile phone. What are we saying here? We are realizing that the benefits of using the mobile phone is constrained by a number of factors. One, ownership, which is in affordability, and number two, um, cost of maintaining the phone, like buying airtime, which can also drain your cost. So you end up going for, it is advisable for you to go for some of the network promotional services, which is like friends, family and friends, and then some of the promotional reduced tariffs, such as calling favorites and family and friends. And sometimes they also have another promotion that in terms of first 1 minute free, and then the next the next the next minute is charged maybe half. Before the third minute is charged full price. So that could be another promotion that could also be there. So that's about affordability. Then you also have another one that has to do with accessibility. The network itself doesn't have coverage in certain areas, so you need to have two home phones. What are we saying here? We are saying that the author presented the one of Grace. So you can see Grace, what Grace is doing. Then after that, she presented that one of AA. Then you realize that she keeps on saying that traders as with Grace and AA. So there's replication here. She's comparing what is happening in Grace and what is happening in AA throughout the particular paragraph here. She's not looking at only one person's issue. She's comparing and using that one to be able to come up with understanding that what we have here in terms of the mobile phone usage, we can emphasize that the benefits you get is depends on the readiness of your actors in the transaction to use or own a mobile phone. That's all that he's trying to say. The only way he can be able to do that is to show that those what is true, what I'm saying is true. And he has shown that by pointing out that if you don't have the mobile phone, she cannot be able to interact with you. If she doesn't have coverage, it's going to be very difficult for her. So she needs two mobile phones in that scenario. And then with the Grace's own, she has to with AA's own, she has to also make sure that she's also using promotional measures so that she can keep the cost low in running the mobile phone. So all of these things is pointing to us that the readiness to use the mobile phone, the benefits you gain from the mobile phone is influenced by the readiness of your actors to also use the mobile phone. And that is a very given statement based on what we have here. So external validity points out that when you are trying to come out to your conclusion, don't extend the truth to fields and other places you didn't study or other concepts you didn't look into. Stay within the concept that you are studying, and even within the type of questions you are answering within the concept. So in my concept is micro trading. So the paper is titled Micro Trading and Mobile Phones, Conceptualizing the Link. So every single time that I'm discussing, I come back to micro trading, micro trading, micro trading. So you see that in micro trading activities, the benefits obtained. So the benefits are part of the things I wanted to study in micro trading. But I've been able to find out that micro trading, the benefits obtained is so and so and so and so. And the only way I can say that is that I can be able to see that pattern. I can be able to see that there is enough evidence within the study itself to be able to substantiate the argument I'm putting across. Don't be like students who just say a conclusion, and if you look in the data, there is not any internal there's not much validity for it, because when they were concluding, they tried to stretch the truth by saying that now in all developing countries, these are the issues that are taking place. No, you said in micro trading activity, that is the concept you're studying. So note what you are studying and know how to put in your comments based on what you are studying, not what you are not studying. Not what you are not studying. Okay. Then you also have a possibility in which you can have um, reliability. Reliability demonstrates the operation. Reliability demonstrates that the operations of the study, such as data collection, can be repeated and the same results will be obtained. Now, to be able to do this, you need to use your case study protocol. What did you say you do in the beginning? Who are the people you said you're going to interview? And as you are doing, you modify. So everybody's giving a purpose. Why you interview this person, what you gain from the person, and that. So that at the end of the day, when you come back and read my methodology, you can be able to say that this study is replicable. Why is that important? It's important because in science, we should be able to make sure that we can check falsifiability of a particular finding, So you are going to check whether the information that you have received is sound, and then what you said you are going to collect, and what you have collected, are they all in sync? Are they all in sync? So that when I pick the same data protocol or the case study protocol, I go to the field to collect data, will I get the same outcome? These are questions that you may be asking yourself. Will I get the same outcome? No, I will not get the same outcome. So now let's go back and check the reliability. How did I show reliability in this work? Now, reliability is a case study protocol and how to develop the case study database. So the case study database has the references to all the people I interviewed and why I interviewed them, and then where they are located. Number two, we are going to use a case study protocol. What I said I would do in the case study, the variables I was going to measure, where I was going to collect the data from, all these things that go into your case study protocol. You have to go back and check that, because whenever you want to replicate the study, you give your set of questions to somebody and give him the protocol about what approach you went around collecting data. So in this case, what I will do is that I will go to the market to men paper and look at the methodology to be able to check whether there's reliability there. Is there enough information that gives me understanding that what occurred has actually occurred? Okay, look at this one. The study seeks to investigate the impact of mobile phones on micro trading activities of women traders in Ghana. A mixed method approach consisting of survey and case study was adopted in order to explore the consistency of findings and obtain richness and detail to understand how mobile phones impact micro trading activities. So the choice that I wanted to do is justified. I've justified using Creswell. So that's what you should do. Try and justify all your choices. That's number one. Number two, a survey was conducted to explore the mobile phone usage behavior of 136 traders. So now I'm giving the reason why I did a survey. A follow-up case study was conducted with 4 traders to develop an in-depth understanding of mobile phone usage and mobile phone user behavior and gain insight to observations from the survey. An exploratory case study approach was adopted, since it strongly supports the research objective at the beginning. Okay. So now you are realizing what I'm trying to point out here. This research was also sought to benefit from the rigors of designing and collecting, analyzing data as described by DeVos 2001. So all the methods I use, you can look at the literature of DeVos and you can see why I did that and what I was doing. Then it goes on. The mixed method approach enabled us to develop propositions on the mobile phone usage behavior of the traders. You can point them down. You can also emphasize some of the outcome that you got out of the study. Now let's go into what happened. Now this is where my case study protocol, the information actually, the actual activities start from. One, the study was collected over a 4 month. Data was collected over a 4 month period. 3 sets of interviews. So look at I'm even telling you the number of interviews were conducted. The first set of interviews were conducted with women traders. And then it goes on to say that a questionnaire was structured to reflect the framework presented in figure 1. So I presented a questionnaire. Some of the studies, they'll even show you the questionnaire in figure 1. They'll show it at the back of the work. Okay. A sample size of 150 was chosen from 2 markets, the location of the study, which is part of your case study protocol. Kaneshia Abubushi market in Accra, capital city of Ghana. Out of the 77 percent, out out of the 150, 136 was successfully administered, representing a 91% response rate. Out of the 77 respondents, out of a total of 77 respondents, which is 56%, were from Kaneshie market, and 59, which is 44%, were from Abubushi market. I'm even giving statistics to let you know the truth, so that when you go, you can replicate it. The second set of interviews were conducted with 4 traders, randomly selected from Medina and Makola markets, not the same other markets, for an in-depth study of their micro trading activities. The objective was to create a representation of traders across the 4 markets in Accra, and also capture rich mobile and trading experiences from different markets. So look at what I'm trying to do. I'm doing mobiles and micro trading. I'm not looking at micro trading only just one market. I'm trying to look at micro trading in a number of different markets in Ghana. So I ended up doing 4 markets in Ghana, 4 markets in Accra. So you can say that at the end of the day, the reliability could be high because you have got 4 different markets to compare the findings across the markets. They said 2 case studies from the 4 interviews were presented in this paper. The third set of interviews were conducted with 4 marketing personnel of 2 mobile operators in Ghana and resellers of mobile prepaid cards and mobile accessories. There are currently 5 major networks in Ghana: MTN, Tigo, Zain, Kasapa, and Vodafone. The interviews were conducted with marketing personnel from Tigo and Zain and resellers of prepaid cards and mobile accessories, which with respect to the services that have become beneficial to traders. Okay. The interviews in both the set of interviews were recorded and transcribed, and copies of the transcribed interview were sent to copies of the transcribed interview were sent to the interviewees to check and resolve discrepancies. The approach to analyzing the case study was primarily by use of pattern matching logic, as explained by June 1994. We sought for results that can strengthen the validity of our theoretical framework, thereby scrutinizing the context of the case and detailing findings to provide answers to the research question. So what did we do? We have tried to solve the problem. We have tried to look at the case study protocol that has turned into your methodology details that can give you enough information to let you know that this study has taken place in a particular area, and there is enough information for you to be able to check whether you can replicate the study, whether you can replicate the study. So that gives us an understanding of what we can see in the mobile and market women study. Now, going back to what we were saying that use the case study protocols and develop case study database. Okay. Now, let me just go back a little bit. External validity, one of the things that when you are doing single case studies, you have to use theory. The theory you have stated, you compare that theory to the single case study and see whether there are patterns in it and there's a relationship between to enhance each other's strengths. Okay. So going on from there, let's talk about writing the case. Now, every good case study should have 3 key sections. 1, it could be 4 too. The case study profile or the background to the case that helps us to understand the institution you are dealing with in terms of the case study. Then you go on to, and that one can tell us the who, the what, the how, the structure,
resources and achievement and financial performance of the case or the firm, depending on what matters. Then you go on to the phenomenon of study. What are you trying to study? How did it begin? So you see, you are studying something like electronic commerce. How did it begin? If you are studying something like leadership, hospital, transformational leadership in public sector, and you are looking at a particular public sector, you want to ask questions that how did it begin? How did it begin? How did it begin? So that's where you may want to start from. So what's the background to the phenomenon? Precursor to the phenomenon, first instance of occurrence, and initial perspectives after you finish that. What are the initial views after you looked at that? Okay. Then you go to, from the background to case phenomenon. Case phenomenon now looks like you are getting into the actual issues that matter in the case, the actual concepts that you want to review for your case. You go into that in the case phenomenon, where you can please explain the issues, you can explore the concept, describe the event, use quotations from the respondents, constraints and challenges, outcome and impact and future outcome. You can look at so many things depending on the type of study you are doing. So the case study reflects the results from the study, which may be analyzed to determine answers to the research objectives. The results are a collection of arguments which are being put together to tell a logical story of a bounded system. Now, so in writing, we need to be able to see the structure. So after getting the structure, now we have to ask ourselves, what am I going to write? Now, in terms of writing, every type of writing is a certain type of argument you are putting across. So arguments are a set of ideas which are expressed and how they are constituted in writing and other forms is fundamental. Okay, making convincing arguments involves working out how to construct, communicate, and support and substantiate it. Okay, so what are we going to do? We are going to learn how do we write in our case study, and how do we write our case study? How looking at the different types of argumentations. The first one is that at a point in time of your work, you need to be able to, at the first point time of your work, you need to be able to, Augustine, I'm shouting better. You need to be able to present arguments that focus on how the social phenomenon and how the social phenomenon and the processes are constituted. Okay, this is because of the rich contextual and local nature of most qualitative investigation, which is done in messy context. So because of the fact that you are doing a qualitative study, you need to start with mechanical arguments, how something works, how something comes together, what is usually the background. So look at it. In case A, the mechanical argument was the background that you give. And Tiakosia hereafter refers to as is a tomato retail trader. She has junior high school level education and has been working as a tomato retailer since June 2008. AA works with Jane, who serves as an intermediary. All this is to tell you that how the business works, the how part of the business. B, case B, Grace's own. Maize is a seasonal produce which requires a lot of cost savings. So it goes on to tell you why the maize sellers can buy produce from farmers in villages and then can sell it to retailers in Accra. Grace is a maize wholesaler who has 4 retailers in Accra. She has primary school level education and has learned the trade from her mother. What we see here is what we call mechanical arguments, presenting how something is constituted, how something comes together, how something is constituted, and how something comes together. This now becomes the local nature, the rich contextual background that supports a case study. This becomes the rich contextual background that supports a case study. So I want you to look at how something works. It's called mechanical argument. Now look at the e-commerce paper that I gave you. It started by discussing the firm profile. The firm began in 2003 as a general merchant which sold used cars to Ghanaians through the internet. The company was registered in 2004 as a sole proprietorship firm and became limited liability in 2005. The business objective of the firm is that. So it tells you the business objective and then it tells you how the business works. So it says the business objective of the firm is to provide Ghanaians with convenient medium for buying their choice cars at a relatively affordable price. The cars are imported from Germany through a partnership with a German used car retailer. The firm has no physical warehouse or showroom. The cars are available for purchase on the catalog on the website.
paying potential customers contact the firm through the website, and then it says that an email and telephone to place their orders. The cars are then requested on their behalf. So all this is telling you how it works. Then it goes on to say that to illustrate how it works, the business process diagram for the pre-purchase and purchase and delivery activities is shown in figure 1 and 2. Figure 1 and 2. So figure 1 and 2 shows a process diagram how during the prior to purchase and after the purchase, prior to purchase and after the purchase. Okay. Now, the firm has two business units. All this is keep on these mechanical arguments, telling us things in the present on how the firm is constituted and how the firm works, how the firm is constituted and how the firm works. That is what we call mechanical arguments. You usually begin your work by presenting that part first, presenting the case background, which will give us the mechanical arguments of how the case works, or how the firm works, or how the phenomenon occurs. Okay. Then, and how the institution that the phenomenon is occurring in occurs. Okay. Now, the next thing that happens is that we need to develop the next type of cases, the next type of write-up. The next type of write-up is how something was developed. We call that one developmental argument. Now, we will construct a developmental argument if you want to explain how a social phenomenon, social relationships, and social processes have developed or come to be. Describe the detailed, contextual, multi-layered interpretation of the developmental process. So look at this one. Okay, so it says that prior to a mobile phone, communication between AA, we are looking at, I hope you can see, we are looking at the case study. I'm still using the slide that I'm supposed to be using. I'm still using the same slides, please. So, okay. Okay. All of you are seeing my whole screen. That's one thing. Sorry. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. Prior to the mobile phone, only the mobile phone, communication between AA and Jane was constrained by distance. The limited access to Jane often contributed to poor inventory management. So this one is all telling us, that, okay, this one is all telling us that, okay, that what you have here is about how AA's business began. And it began in terms of that particular line of work, that particular phenomenon you want to say, how the phenomenon begin. So it's now focusing much more on the phenomenon which is related to the use of mobile phone. So how did AA begin using mobile phone? How did AA begin using mobile phone? That's what you see here as being a developmental argument. Developmental arguments tend to focus much more on how the social processes or social phenomenon came to be, has developed and come to be. The other one tells you how something works. This one tells you how something came to be. Okay. Now, if you look at it in the e-commerce and car companies case study, what you see here is that the first part of the firm profile. The next section of the work is business resource development, where it talks about, first of all, business startup, and then secondly, it talks about finding a supplier online. So the business starter is telling you that how the company began. Lanka Consult was born out of the owner-manager's keen interest in mobiles. In 2003, the owner-manager, hereafter referred to as John, spent 6 months studying the car retail market in Accra, and while undertaking a postgraduate diploma in advanced IT in Ghana, India, Kofi Annan Center for Excellence in ICT. The market study involved visiting and interviewing 15 used car retailers and 15 new car retailers. The new car retailers were firms who acted as official representatives of established car brands like Mercedes-Benz, Ford, Toyota, and Nissan. They sold new cars or cars which were almost a year old and had been refurbished to the original factory standards. The used car retailers, usually operating through wayside showrooms, sold cars which were at least 1 year old. Used car retailers sell a minimum of 2 brands of cars from a particular region or country, such as Germany, okay, Netherlands, and Japan. 8 of the 15 used car retailers traded in cars from Europe, particularly Netherlands and Germany.
Through this market study, John developed an understanding of the business operations of importing and selling um, imported used cars in Ghana. He also identified four challenges consumers face in buying used cars. Consumers had limited purchasing power and had access to finance. Learning rates were relatively high, so he brought in the learning rate at that time, 38.5% at the end of 2002. The financial institutions which could pre-finance and the purchase also prefer salaried workers and new cars or new or slightly used ones from established representatives of car companies. They were more expensive. For example, a used Opel Astra as an old car, 2000 model, costs about $10,000, while one costs while a new one costs at least twice the price. The minimum with a minimum daily wage of approximately $1 as of 2002, the price of new cars exceeded the budget of the average Ghanaian. So I'm able to put a logical argument here. In the terms of car models, the uh, value added technical features, the choice of consumers was limited to cars. The choice of consumers was limited to cars available in wayside showrooms. This often contributed to consumers bribing intermediaries for tip-offs. The cars in the wayside showrooms were usually priced and in relatively poor conditions, or missing factory-made original manufacturer parts. They were susceptible to high interest rates, high rental charges for the display page space, and the hand deals with intermediaries, and the theft of factory-made parts due to inadequate security at showrooms. Okay, consumers who could not afford the cars from new car dealers and were out of choice from wayside showrooms usually resorted to buying illegal imported from cars. These cars, both new and used, were relatively cheaper since they were imported through Togo and driven across the Ghana-Togo border illegally to avoid import duties and related charges. Okay. However, the Ghanaian police force has been impounding cars and arresting these owners. From these observations, John realized that there was a need to provide more convenient means for Ghanaians to purchase used cars. John assessed the potential of selling cars via the internet through a research paper on establishing an online shopping portal in Ghana. The research paper was part of his postgraduate diploma program. This potential business opportunity was to be based on three core principles: quality, choice, and price. In, in this perspective, quality referred to a provision of used cars which had good service history, less than 10 years old, and were in better condition as compared to used cars available on the Ghanaian market. Quality referred to the provision of used cars which had good service. Okay. Choice referred to offering customers options of color and additional features, including air conditioning, power steering, airbags, and anti-theft systems. Price referred to selling cars at prices comparable to those in Europe. The internet and email were to be used to advertise the cars and inform potential customers. However, the concept was not welcomed by potential investors and the existing car retailers whom he sought as partners. He therefore decided to find capital and a potential foreign used car retailer or supplier, a startup, and start up the firm as a sole proprietorship. Okay. So what you see here is what I was saying earlier. Look at what I said earlier. Describe the detailed, contextual, multi-layered interpretation of the developmental process. Detailed, contextual, and multi-layered interpretation. Look at what is happening here. Very detailed, contextual, and multi-layered, different layers, about 4 different reasons. It goes on to say that finding a supplier online. To raise capital for his business opportunity, John traveled to UK in the last quarter of 2003 to take up a temporary job. John used the opportunity to find a trading partner in Europe from whom we could purchase used cars and import to Ghana.
through the market study in Ghana, John identified that the highly patronized car in Ghana were one, Opel Astra 1997 for taxis, Mercedes-Benz C180 for preference for graduate medical doctors, well, four, a preference for young professionals, and Volkswagen Wagon and Passat 2004, 2006 models, and BMW 5 and 7 Series, a preference for business managers and business executives. Wow. He therefore carried out a study of European used car retail market. Now, what seems to be happening here, uh, is that all you can see here is the fact that we are given a multi-layered interpretation of what happened. And that is what we require from you to do in a developmental argument. So if you look at it carefully, then from there, we go to another type of argument, sorry. We got comparative arguments. Comparative arguments come when you need to draw some explanation or some explanatory significance from a specified set of comparisons and therefore draw a logic of explanation. And it's tied to the mechanism of comparison. Okay, in qualitative research, our sensitivity to context maximizes the chances of developing meaningful points of comparison. Okay, the mobile phone has made it easy. The mobile phone has made it easy, okay, for Grace to carry out her transactions more efficiently. She does not need to travel to do her business, unless she has to go around to collect the payments. She does once in a month. Grace explains that I do not need to come to Accra to supply the maize. All I do is to take orders on the phone and hire a truck to send the commodity. I don't have to put my life at risk by making unnecessary journeys. So the comparative arguments here is to draw some explanatory significance from a specified set of comparisons. So that's what you see her doing here. She points out this one and points out the other one, and that because of that, she's able to make a particular choice. I don't need to come to Accra to supply the maize. All I do is take orders on the phone and hire a truck to conduct to send the commodity. I do not have to put my life at risk, thereby making unnecessary arguments. Okay, so what we see here too is not just only about comparative arguments. It's also about the fact that sometimes a person will be trying to point out why something should occur or explain a particular point. Let me use an example from here. You read it, but maybe you didn't see. Look at this particular area. Okay. You see, in this particular scenario, John was explaining that four challenges that consumers face. Look at the first one. Consumers have limited buying power and access to finance. That's one thing he said. Lending rates, the first part, he's now going to put, were relatively high, 38.5%. The financial institution which could pre-finance the purchase also preferred salaried workers. Okay. And these were usually more expensive. For example, now look at it. A used Opel Astra 2000 model cost about $10,000, and the new one cost about twice the price, with a minimum daily wage of approximately $1. A comparison of 2000 as of 2002. The price of a new cars exceeded the budget of. When you do the comparison, we can see here that the price of the new cars will exceed the budget of the average Ghanaian. That is all I'm trying to say. So you can have 2 points, one given here, and then after that you put them together and say that, okay, because of this, I can make this inference that this and this is what is happening. So that's one thing that you realize in this particular example. The price of the new cars, actually, the budget of the average Ghanaian is exceeded it entirely. It exceeded it. Why? Because of this premise I've been able to give you. So we have comparative arguments taking place. Comparative arguments. You compare and then you can argue. Okay. Then we come from there, and we see, he said, in comparative arguments, your sensitivity is to the context. If you look at what I explained, the interest rates in Ghana, I explained the nature of which the financial institutions operate, and then I explained I showed the cost of a car, and I showed you the cost of a new one, and then based on what I've told you earlier concerning the price, the cost, the minimum wage, you can then make an inference that this one is too expensive. This is too expensive for the average Ghanaian. Okay. So from there, we can then go and make arguments about causation and prediction. Okay. Causal arguments are framed in terms of effects of variables on the other. However, that is not the focus of qualitative research. Causality focuses on detail and complexity and contextuality, and not on expecting to find cause and effect in any straightforward action. So you should focus more on detail, complexity, and contextuality. Prediction is concerned about how and why a social phenomenon or process happen in particular circumstances and particular ways. Can certainly support predictive ideas about how those things might occur in varying contexts. So now look at the second paper. Now we are looking at now John's issue. A number of interrelated issues relating to financial constraints at the firm level and at the national level, the limitations of relying on social networks, and the importance of trust and limited managerial knowledge of e-commerce procedure contributed to the failure of the project. John resolved that if you could develop a new website, then it had to be done in a manner in which you would have adequate control, knowledge, and flexibility to manage its content and web hosting service. Now, what are we trying to say here? What we are trying to say here is that John now made a decision concerning what she would do in the future. And that decision was caused by the fact that a number of things has made John fail in the previous attempt of running a website. What did he make him fail? First of all, there are financial constraints in the firm and national level. John's website failed because he couldn't send money abroad for them to renew the website domain. But he told a friend to pick a payment. Earlier, he couldn't send it, so told a friend to make a payment for him because he didn't have a credit card. He sent the money to the friend. The friend didn't do it and spent the money. And the friend always told him that he had done it. So what you are seeing here is what is emphasizing: one, limitations of social networks, importance of trust, and then limited managerial knowledge of e-commerce procedure. He didn't know how to set up a payment gateway online on his website so that he could make his own payments to the company. And he didn't even have a credit card in Ghana here to be able to do so. Okay. Then he also realized something here, that financial constraints at the firm and national level. Now, all of these things are things that came together to show that our friend here, John, had failed in designing the first website. He designed the website, he ran it for some time, but the website went down because he couldn't renew the contract with the person who had opened the new website. Okay. But the person who was supposed to pay for the domain name of the renewal of the website, he couldn't do so. And the person he gave the money to also spent the money. That's why he's saying that limitations of relying on social networks. Okay. Now, John resolved that if he had to develop a new website, if he had to do something again in the future, then it had to be done in a manner in which he will have adequate control. So you realize that you are seeing causality here. One thing that happened is that he had got failure. The failure reasons have been explained, and now it was now informing the next decision that he was going to take. So sometimes what you try to do is to show causation. What caused the thing led to this particular thing to fail? What caused the thing to become a default? Why did the person default? Then you give enough, you argue in such a way that you are explaining why the defaulting took place. Then by doing so, you say that now because of this and these variables, this and these particular factors, in the future, this is what will happen. Then you are predicting how it will shape behavior in the future. This is what you see happening here. Predictive arguments and then causation argument, or predictive statements and causative statements. So what are we saying in a nutshell? You are going to use, at the case context, where you are doing the firm profile, you're going to do mechanical arguments where you explain how something works. Then when you go to the background, you are going to do developmental arguments, where you tell us how the phenomenon came into being. What were the first instance of occurrence? What were the initial perception or perspective concerning the occurrence? Then you go into the case itself, where you tell us what is happening in the case. And that one, you are going to mix comparative with causative and predictive, and some developmental again there. You end up mixing a lot of them in the case phenomenon itself. The case phenomenon. If you read the case study I gave you on mobile commerce, let's look at it. This is the firm profile. So everything here is more about mechanical, how something works. Even the diagram about how it works is given. Then we go to the business resource development, how we began the business itself, and that is developmental. How we found our first supplier online, developmental. How we made our first pitches and first customer order, developmental. Then we are going to the core issue, e-commerce capabilities. So e-commerce capabilities has to learn how to do with how the capabilities were developed. So now you're going to do a comparative, you're going to do mechanical to explain something about how something works. And you're also going to do, so you've got comparative, developmental. I'm also going to do a little bit of mechanical where they need be, but it's very, very few. So you see, it starts with John considered that creating an online presence to support the firm's business processes was critical to the ability to exploit this market opportunity. He explained that the internet research, so this one is becoming developmental, telling us how that. Okay, the firm's e-commerce activities entailed developing an e-commerce capability comprising of a static website, the use of internet for online marketing, and email for facilitating product and transaction inquiries. He also kept initial capital through an online bank account, which enabled him to transfer money at ease. The first website was designed. Now, this paragraph that he was explaining here is more about a mechanical argument about how the business was working at that time. Then the next one that comes to, the next one that comes to here, that tries to explain. The next one is here. The next one that tries to explain the first website was designed by John in 2004. John had basic skills. So that's developmental. This paragraph now becomes developmental. And then it tells you about how the thing was consisted. The slideshow and everything, it tells you. And then it tells you what he did and how the reasons behind what he did. Then it goes out to some causal argument. Due to John's limited technical knowledge, no traffic monitoring functionality was set up on the website. Within the first quarter, the first claims the firm claims to have received an average of, telling you 6 emails inquiries per week and 12 inquiries, 15 inquiries per a week. These inquiries sought to ascertain. This one too is coming back to mechanical, what was happening, how it was working at that time, how something was working at that time. So you are realizing that he's moving between mechanical, causal, and then developmental, mechanical, causal, and developmental. Now look at this one. Due to skepticism of the customers, John focused on using social interaction to develop personal relationship with them. One of the customers, a resident medical doctor, comments that, with the exception of weekends, so I barely had time to visit the cyber cafe to check my emails during the week. John used to, all of this one become developmental again, developmental again. But the first part is a little bit mechanical due to skepticism and causal. Due to the skepticism of customers, John focused on, so what John did, what John is doing, like how John was solving that problem. John focused on using social interaction to develop a personal business relation with them. One of the customers, now that's a reflection, that becomes developmental. So you see, developmental is more historical and looks as a reflection at that. But here you are telling what John was doing, how John was running the business. Then this one becomes much more of a little bit of mechanical. So you are looking at mechanical, you are looking at developmental, and you're also looking at sometimes causal arguments and comparative arguments as she goes on. Comparative arguments. Now look at another one, which is about explanation building and causal. Look, I said, though it was relatively time-consuming and unsustainable for a large number of consumers, John explains that it was necessary as the firm was building its clientele, and the internet and telephone conversations were relatively not enough to do business within the Ghanaian culture. In his words, there needed to be a face behind the firm whom they could interact with, especially when money was involved. Hence, social interaction and networks are more likely to influence online transactions cultures with low degree of individualism. What you see here is giving you some causal explanation. Remember what we said about causal arguments and causal arguments. We said causal arguments have to do with what? One, not detail and complexity and contextuality. What is happening within the context and how it relates to the complexity of the issue and the details that are given up. So it's not expecting to find the cause and effect in a straightforward fact, but telling us about how context and complexity and complex issues concerning the phenomenon and context come together. Complex issues concerning the phenomenon, context issue come together. Look at here. John explained that it was necessary as the firm was building clientele and the internet and telephone conversation were relatively not enough to do business. So within the culture has to do with contextuality. And then the complex concept about the fact that he was trying to meet all the customers one-on-one. So he had to explain it there. And he goes on to explain in his words, there needed to be a face behind the firm. So all these things has to do with context, contextuality, and then detail. Context, contextuality, and detail. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that you are going to see all these forms of writing and use them in your work. Mechanical, primarily for the case, firm background, and then developmental for how issues are developed. Then when you get to case-based issues or case phenomena, sometimes you do almost all the four in the same place. Do almost all the four in the same place. Now, the developmental, some parts of the developmental can be also comparative or about causative. Remember what I mentioned when I was talking about high interest rates in Ghana and how it informed and the fact that if the Opel Astra cost $10,000, then it means that people couldn't buy it or it was out of their out of the affordability level of the Ghanaian, the average Ghanaian buyer of a car. Okay. Now let's go on. Okay, I'll finish. So read paper 1 and 2, and for each of the papers, outline the 10 things you have learned from the papers concerning developing and writing a case study. Now, and also develop a case study protocol for a qualitative study for your choice. A case study protocol, an overview of the project, population and respondents, sampling procedure, case study questionnaire, data collection methods, and a guide for your case study report. I just want you to see if you can do that. So read your paper 1 and paper 2 and identify 10 things that you studied. I want that one next week. And then I'll put it on the Sakai so that you can upload it there. I'll try and put it. And then try to develop a case study protocol for a qualitative case of your own choice. So I'll also put up that one for you to do that. Okay, these two I'll put it in there when we finish. So now we have this particular slides that I've shown to you, and take home assignment. It's on slide 49. You look at paper 1 and 2. Paper 1 has to do with the mobiles and marketing one. Paper 2 has to do with the e-commerce capabilities. Okay. Now let me take your questions so I can answer them reliably for you. Okay. Let me take your questions.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me take your questions, please. Let me take your questions, please.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not going straight.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Let me take your questions. How long should the context be? What do you mean by context? How long should the context be? I think it depends on your work, and you have to just give relevant information, and that may be important to do your work. So all the relevant information that may be important to do your work is what you should actually focus on. So if you are saying how long should it be, that's what I advise. Mousy, I don't understand what you mean, but you saw videos. The videos are in but you didn't see document. The documents are in the resources section. The documents are in the resources section. Okay, please, your question. How do you think, because please, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, how will you link the causal argument with the effect with its effect in addition to other comparative? Please, Elena, read people's work. Like that's the assignment I've given. Go and read the work, the sample case studies, and you see yourself how it is linked together. Because you present, it's about writing, you are telling a story. So sometimes you end up developing an argument. You also sometimes doing a causal argument by pointing causes. Sometimes you may need to also do comparative argument. So please read the paper I gave you on that case study and underline certain things. There's even another paper that is also very, very good. That one has the theory aspect of it, but that one is a little bit, the analysis is a little bit higher for some of you, because you are now understanding what you are going through. I don't want to disturb you with that one. Okay, you let me add that one too. Okay. Let me answer your questions here, and I think I'll look at the paper later and write it. Okay. You can unmute yourself.
You don't have freedom to put down. That does not necessarily mean that you are.
If you have any question, you can ask. Please. Unless you are saying something I didn't hear. Okay. The video for last week is on the platform, so you could actually.
Hello, Prof.
Yes.
Hello, Prof.
You can talk.
Hello, Prof.
I can hear you can talk.
Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You gave us an assignment. You said a week's time. To be honest, I'm pleading for my circumstances. I don't know, but I'm pleading that let's make it 2 weeks because some of us don't have any case study in mind now. We need to sit down and read few ones that we can develop our own. So
No, I didn't say that one is due in a week. I said the first part is due in a week.
Okay.
Look at the assignment. The part one is due in a week. The second one, I've not given a deadline yet.
Okay. And again, what you taught us on the I think John's case study on the car, home second-hand cars. Yes, established the fact that the minimum wage in Ghana at that time was about $1. And in drawing his conclusion, she said, because minimum wage is $1, the cost of the car is beyond average Ghanaian. But my problem is that those who earn $1 and less are not average Ghanaians. And so how does that one factor into his internal consistency in terms of his argument?
Because when you go globally, we use the daily wage to be able to look at the purchasing power in people's lifestyle. That's why there's the daily wage there. So if you want to make a comparison, there's no statistics on how much people are earning below that one. So the only statistic that you can maybe use in your argument in this particular economic sense is what the daily wage is. So even if people are living below the daily wage, then it tells you that it's even worse. So if another argument,
you are not getting my argument. What I'm saying is that she established that because our minimum wage is so low and around $1.
Yes, and I'm trying to say that you are saying people are living below the minimum wage. And I'm saying that
not exactly so. Not exactly so. Kindly wait for me small. What I'm saying is that you established the premise that many of us or many Ghanaians earn $1.
He didn't say many Ghanaians. He just said that this is a statistic in Ghana concerning
okay. And therefore,
Ghanaians.
buying a car in Ghana is beyond average Ghanaian. And my argument is that average Ghanaian doesn't earn $1 a day.
Yes,
average
but
Ghanaian,
you are saying based on what statistic? You see, when you are presenting something to the outside world, they don't know what is happening in your country. Present a statistic that the average Ghanaian does not earn that one. So that if you say that the average Ghanaian does not earn that one,
they earn more.
Than that.
Average Ghanaians, for example, per my knowledge, average Ghanaians will be somebody like you, somebody like me, somebody like most of our classmates.
So it's your definition of average. There's no definition of average.
Okay.
Your definition of average is what you are saying, but we are using the economic definition here that you are saying that this is the minimum wage. The minimum wage tells you what the pay rate is within Ghana. So if you go and look for a definition for minimum wage, and you understand what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay. And my second clarity, I want clarity from it too. Again, I think Grace. The mace.
Okay, let me tell you the definition for minimum wage that you don't realize yourself. Minimum wage is the lowest remuneration that employers
can legally pay their workers.
Exactly.
Good. So we are talking about the employable person that can be able to pay.
Yes.
So in that case, the average Ghanaian is defined by this particular one, that even those who are working cannot be able to buy it. Then how much those who are not working? So that shows you that the situation is even more worse. Do you understand the argument you're trying to say? That you are just trying to...
I agree perfectly with him, but my thinking is that he has preconceived idea to generalize his statement. Why am I saying so?
He didn't preconceive any idea. I'm really getting difficulty to understand.
Because, Prof, I'm not arguing, but it's a discussion. My argument is that when you say average Ghanaian, the average Ghanaian is not described by a minimum wage earner. Because anybody who is average Ghanaian earns more than a minimum wage.
Who is the average Ghanaian to you? It's what you are saying.
Per what he said, because I don't believe minimum wage earner can even buy a motor. Because a minimum wage earner is basically hand to mouth. He cannot even make savings, unless, of course, he's earning other incomes out of his work. That is where I have small inconsistency, as you taught by us. What you taught us is what I'm trying to bring in few other observations.
Listen carefully for another definition. If you don't still understand it, the national minimum wage is the wage that the average minimum wage worker will earn. That's another definition. This is coming from the United States definition of economic effects.
But you can apply it to Ghana.
No, I'm not saying that. You're not writing the paper for Ghanaians. That's the mistake that you always do. Whenever you are looking at things, you look at things not very objectively, in that you are talking to a global audience. So your papers that you are writing, you're not writing for Ghanaian audience. You're writing for a global audience, and they are looking at what you are saying, and they can compare it to their knowledge of what they experience in their other country. And that one, as of listening to it, and that one as of May 2019 was $11. May 2019, that one was $11. So if even 2002, Ghana's own was $1 or even below $1, you can understand. This is May 2019, $11. And in a developing country, we have even got more or less options of even generating income as compared to the US, where you can get a welfare wages and all kinds of stuff, welfare support to support what you have. So I'm just trying to let you get an understanding of what is it's an inference you're trying to make based on the statistics from the ISA report, and that's what you're trying to put across. So if you have a problem with it, maybe you should talk to the people who wrote the ISA report, because the actual statement was coined from the ISA report.
Thank you, Prof. Again, I have a small contribution to make, if I can, on the Mace case study. Can I come? Can I ask?
You have got the opportunity of talking.
Okay, Prof. Again, in the Grace case, where she's selling the maize to those in Accra, in the course of, because I'm asking this question based on what you taught us about the consistency and verification and those things. In the course of giving us, us the background, what he said was that she's selling to wholesalers, and therefore herself is a wholesaler. But in the course of your title, what you said was,
she didn't say she's selling to wholesalers. She's selling to retailers and then to customers too directly.
Yeah, but it's a wholesaler.
A wholesaler sells to who?
To the retailers.
Good, and that's what it said. And then there are wholesalers too who have got opportunity of selling directly to retailers.
Customers, individual customers.
Yes, so.
Yeah. Okay. Now, somebody is doing some activity around my area, so the noise is too much. Let's end it here. It's okay for me. Thanks. Prof, thanks so much.
We can hear you. The noise is not coming here.
But the noise is too much here. They are doing some small construction behind my residence, so the noise.
But it's not affecting us anyway. So you can ask your question.
Okay. So my program is about if somebody is dealing with wholesalers and retailers, and we are saying it's been a macro type of business, and then I have a challenge small, because at that level, you're either in the medium or large scale type. But at the company, we are dealing with the macro level trading, and that is where I have another challenge small. It seems, again, the man or the woman or whoever the writer is preconceived the idea, and therefore he makes sure that whatever that she does fits into the case study, and that is my observation there. I don't know others too.
Okay. Your point about that, I think you have a different understanding of what you are reading. What you are seeing here is a person who is a wholesaler but has got different aspects of a business. The aspect of the business that is being discussed here is a retail business. So if you look at it, you said case B, May's retailer. But she's telling you that the person is a wholesaler who has 4 retailers.
Exactly.
But we didn't discuss her business with retailer. We discussed her business with her customers. So the retail aspect of her business. A person can be, I myself as a lecturer, I'm a lecturer here, but I'm also a consultant outside there. You can look at me as a consultant, you can look at me as a lecturer, and you can get different effects. If you look at me as a consultant in business, and when I'm doing discussions with WHO or any USAID or anything, you may be saying that, oh, this is what the person does. But if I look at me as a lecturer, you may be saying something else. So here, the title is Case B, May's retailer. Then we tell you the context of the person, and that Grace is a wholesaler who has 4 retailers, retailers who work with her. But we are discussing her transactions as a retailer selling to customers. So if you look down here where I'm highlighting, she talks about customers, and the customers are direct people that she's dealing with. She didn't talk about her retail business, her wholesale business to the retailers.
Okay, Doc, thanks once again.
Okay, but it's a very good point you have seen. But I just wanted you to look at it so that I can see the consistency that's here. You can have in business, as you may say, a person can even you as a student, you can be a lecturer, and you can be a businessman, but you can be a student at the same time. So if I'm doing a case study about you, I can choose you as a student. But as a student, as I'm discussing you, I will say that you are a businessman. So you yourself, as Thomas, maybe you'll not be struggling with paying your school fees because you pay your school fees just like that. Because as a businessman, you are taking money from your business and using to pay your school fees. However, if I see somebody who is a student and there's no other variable around him, just a student, that person may be struggling to pay the school fees, especially if there's no support from any place. So even though you are a student, I need to understand the context in which you come from as a student. That shapes the way you think, that shapes the way you behave, that shapes the way you even relate in and take the program. Some students are here, they are MPs. They are, the way we deal with them as a student, if we deal with them just as a student, just as any other student, you will make a mistake. Because he as an MP, has got other things that can even affect the way he does his work. Sometimes he may be called to go to parliament and everything. So if you are teaching somebody who is an MP, you have to factor in all these things. If you treat him just like any other student who has nothing else to do, that just come to school and just come and pick notes and go, you end up having problems because you might not be able to deliver knowledge and understand to that person very well.
I agree perfectly.
So in qualitative study, I always say something. Look at the context in which the thing is occurring, the phenomenon you're studying is occurring. Don't just look at the phenomenon. And that's what makes qualitative very different from quantitative.
I agree. Thank you, sir.
Elena, so how would you ensure to maintain boundaries in your argument in relation to the level of analysis being micro and macro and meso? You always have to focus on your research question. What are you trying to solve? And that if you are extending your boundaries, is it relevant to what the explanation you are trying to put across within the case? Otherwise, you will never say you end. The boundary is defined by you based on one, exhaustiveness of the context. Have you described everything that can help us understand what you are trying to teach, discuss, show us in the case? If you have not, look at this one that we had to go far as far as explaining how she began his business, went to the field,
and collected data from Joel and all those places. It was because we need to give you a context to be able to understand how John began the business and how he thinks and how he shapes his entrepreneurial abilities. So, Elena, it all depends on whether you have enough information to support what you are trying to do. Kathy, you said that I shared some papers. The papers I shared are the same papers I shared today. So if you have got these papers today, it's the same thing. And the papers are also online. So please, you can check them, Kathy or Kathy.
Okay, Prof.
Yes, please.
If one has decided to use mixed method in the study,
Yes,
which one do you advise to take a lead? Like if the person is using case study to have the qualitative aspect, do you think the case study should take a lead in the analysis so that the quantitative or the statistical computations will follow? Or the statistical computations should take a lead so that the case studies report will follow? And in which case, which one, like
you are adding a lot of things which are going to confuse you. The first thing that you should note that why are you doing mixed methods?
Okay.
That's the first thing. If you understand why you're doing the mixed methods, you know which one of them will come first. Are you doing sequential mixed methods? Are you doing parallel mixed methods? Do you understand me? So if you are doing parallel mixed methods, it means that the findings are being used to compare with each other. If somebody is doing sequential, it means that he does the first one and then the first one informs the second one. So now it tells you that which of them should come first. And it also depends on the nature of the questions you're answering and what you want to look into. Somebody does mixed methods because he wants to use the quantitative to get a representative view of what is happening. And wants to use the qualitative to do a deep in-depth study of how it happens in some of the people who a typical instance of the people he interviewed quantitatively. So if you look at this particular paper that you were looking into, we first began with a quantitative, get a picture of how mobile phones are used by the women and what choices that they make. Then you end up going to a qualitative to be able to select a few people, a few of the qualitative, a few of the market women to do an in-depth study to get explanations behind their choices. So all of them, the first one led to the second one, but the second one does more in trying to understand what choices they make in using the mobile phone and what benefits they experience. The first one just give you a statistical measure of what they can agree that there is some benefits that they are gaining. Do you understand it?
Yes, Paul.
Yeah. So please, it all depends on why are you doing the mixed methods. Know why you are doing it. Know why you are doing it. Okay. Very good question. Thank you very much. Yes, any other questions? Isaac, please, can you rather say what you want to type so that everybody can hear you?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is on the issue of reliability.
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay, so my point is that in B2B research, very much unlike B2C, there are many people who come together to make the decision-making units of the entity.
Yes.
The question is, they may not provide, or the issue is they may not provide a unified assessment of the company phenomena or reality. Okay. So even where there are collection protocols, the likelihood that you will get different data in repeated waves of the same study is very high. How do you resolve?
That's what you are finding. You report it and analyze it like that. Don't try to change it. Why? Unless you want to presume that your answer should be A. Do you understand me?
No, but by thinking about reliability is that if I go back to do the study with the same data collection instruments, I should be able to get something, even though it's qualitative, I should be able to get something that is close to what the first researcher achieved, isn't it?
Yeah, yes and no. You have to note that there are a lot of variables with that one. Even sometimes people answer better to you depending on your personality, if you do in qualitative. You, the researcher, as you're asking questions, a person can even, you may have a connection. For example, I come and interview in your company. I went to Presec with you. I went to Manchester with you. The way you answer the questions
That's right.
from somebody. Context influences her. That is one of the reasons why you have to be able to differentiate what is an objective answer and what is an answer that is being given as a subjective answer because of the person's knowledge about you. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it is true
I understand it. But then does that mean that you cannot achieve true reliability?
No, I don't think it's about reliability in that sense. You are trying to ask yourself that what are the views of the people concerning their performance. You went to this particular person, the person is saying that you are not doing well. The other person is saying you are doing well. Get the reason why he's saying he's not doing well. So that if you come and say there is plurality of views concerning the performance of the company, you can establish that A says this because of this. Then you can rule out those ones which are saying that petty sentiments that they don't like the manager. Those ones you can rule them out. Then you can be able to tell those which actually are true based on actual evidence. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because there could be differences because somebody is angry with somebody, not because of the fact that that is the truth. And that's why you have to tease out between the discussion that what is the truth and what is coming out of sentiments.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and it's a skill. I have to just point out, it's a skill. The more you do, the better information you get. The more you do it, the better information you get. And that's why you use multiple sources of evidence in doing qualitative research. So the guy is saying this. Is there a document to back what he's saying? Is there maybe an internal report to be able to support what he's saying? You can even, sometimes what I do is I ask the same question in two different ways and see whether the person will give me the same answer. And so that the person will contradict himself. Then I'll point out, but you just said this and here. Oh, I didn't mean it. And then the truth will start coming out. I can ask you that, are you well, in two different ways, and you may answer it differently.
Okay. Because my understanding of reliability from the earlier slides is that if I go into let's say a first wave of a study with specific instruments and protocols, and I carry out the study, I do it well, then a second researcher goes back, let's say just to validate what I've done, goes back within a month or so to do the same study with the same protocols and instrument. The person should be able to achieve or get data that is close to what I reported earlier.
Yes.
That was my understanding of reliability.
Which is the truth, but you also have to look at the contextual factor. It goes after a month. The phenomenon could have changed. I went to Amal Bank, the now Bank of Africa, to collect data concerning e-banking. I did that study in August. I did that study in April. When I came back in October to use them for my actual PhD study, Amal Bank had been sold around September there or August there. And the company, the people I knew there had even left. New people had come in. There was only just one person who was just there. And I realized that there was inconsistency in continuing the study because the different operations have been scrapped and a new face of the company. 1 month can change a lot. 1 month can change a lot. So if you are talking about reliability and qualitative, you should also look at context. Remember the example I gave you about the apple orchard that the person went into and then went at a different time. You remember the apple story I used at the first time and I taught you? Yes. So, and you realize that the seasonality had to do with time. Qualitative time plays a very key role. So if you go in after a month, how are you collecting the data? Are you going in retrospect? And if you don't take care, some of the people who experience the phenomenon could even have changed their views because of the fact that they have experienced new things. For example, a new manager comes in and starts working with you. The manager, you go and interview the manager after first 1 month after working, and the customers, the employees say, "Oh, this guy is transformational leader. He did this, he did this, he did this, he did this, he did this." Then you go again, again 2 months after. Something could have happened. Now the guy who just said A has changed his view. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Exactly.
So you have to know that at a particular time A, the viewpoint was this, and at a particular point B, the viewpoint could have changed. What about the context change? What variables change to make the viewpoint change? Before we point out causality in qualitative study, it is not about A is equal to B, and the same thing about reliability. Please, let me just show you something on my slide right now. When we are pointing about causal arguments, look at what it's not. It focuses on detail, complexity, and contextuality, not expecting to find cause and effect in a straightforward fashion. I hope you understand me.
Yes.
Yes. So that's what.
So then the second researcher would have to do a little exposition on the context and suggest if the context has remained the same or changed over time.
You're right. You're right.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Isaac, thank you. Isaac, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay then. Okay, so I think, please, I just want you to note that as much as possible, when we are interacting, I want to try and help you to understand and clarify certain things, because you may go there as an ambassador of mine and may go and confuse other people, because what I'm teaching you may go and teach somebody else. So whenever you are asking questions, note that I'm coming back with the tools that I can make sure that what you understand is what I've taught you, not and then what the literature also says. Don't pick statements one and out of one place and say that it is something. Try to look at the context in which it was said and how to explain it. This question that Isaac have asked is a very good question. But Isaac, you asked this question last week too in a different way. And I'm happy that you asked it again, because now I believe that you are getting a better understanding. I hope so.
Okay.
Are you having
sorry, no. Which question was that last week?
You just asked me right now about the firm and ensuring the stability. I realized that it's a question that you asked last time.
Oh, okay. I didn't even have that in mind at all.
Oh, no. I'm just trying to just say that it's not bad, but trying to say you asked it in a different way last time. You asked me,
okay.
Is it possible, Father, when you go to the firm, you can get one view? You asked me the same. And how do you do this? It's a very good question you're asking, but I'm just trying to help you make sure that you understand it, so that whenever you are out there, you can relate to. But please, plurality of views can come out in a study. It's very common. Plurality of views can come out in a study.
Okay.
When we go to analysis, you understand some of the things I'm talking about, how to rule out some of the explanations that are just showing up. They are inconsistent with the existing explanation. And some of them, if you follow them, it will bring tangent explanations to your work, and it may even skew the work to a particular way. Because part of what you do as a qualitative researcher is to also select what your notion of the truth, what you want to accept and what you don't want to accept. And remember, your mind and the literature you are using, the part that you are coming from, is a lens. It will filter out some things, it will accept some things.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Unless you are doing a grounded theory research, where you are taking all the information and taking your time to look through and then select and remove, cluster, remove, join, cluster, remove to join. But as soon as you start doing all the other dimensions of it, or like all the other types of research, where you take a theory, go into and look at the data, you start filtering, you start analyzing, you start taking some and taking some out, adding and taking some out, and that again. Thank you very, very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Where is your class prefect? Is she around?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay. You are very, very quiet. You don't ask any question. Okay then. Okay, so please, now you have heard about the new timetable and the fact that we are kind of resuming, we'll be having exams between June to July. Yeah, so you realize that the assignments that are due in those times that we agreed on, please try and stick to that. Otherwise, it will become a lot of backlog of work on you.
Prof, somebody asked the question on the page if we could sort of put the second and the third together. Is that possible?
The second and third assignments together?
Yes.
The second assignment is about what? Let me go there.
You are explaining concepts in your area.
No, the second assignment is about theory. Not it.
Yeah, in theory.
And the third assignment is a review. You can't put them together.
What? Did you pour the food?
The second assignment. The second assignment. You said I should look at the second assignment.
Yes.
You know, the second assignment is which one are you talking about? There's topic and research theory, and then there's end of semester examination.
Yes, the person was asking if we could.
Oh, but how, you can't combine the two together. They are two different assignments. What if I combine them together? Date of submission. Is it more about the date of submission?
Well, so far nobody has raised any.
Yeah, I don't think it's about that one. That one is about research theory. And please, the reason why I give space in these things is that I want you to do it so that you can, when you do these assignments, you come back and ask me relevant questions. If you sit down to the end of the semester, you end up not remembering anything to ask me. By the time you realize that you have come to a problem, you have already ended the semester, and it's very difficult to come back to ask me those questions. So I'll give you assignments and space them out so that whilst I'm teaching and you are doing the assignment, if something comes up, you come and ask in the classroom. For example, to tell you the truth, as I've given you up to 30th April to submit your question one. Do you realize that every day that I teach, some of you realize that this research problem I wrote, I didn't write it well at all. I have to go back and make it better because I'm getting better understanding from Prof. I hope you understand me.
Yes.
Yeah. So in that case, the person has opportunity to go and make changes. The same way is why I try to make sure the spaces, there's enough space. So if you are saying that the topic, research topic that you're supposed to submit in May 8 is too close, I should take it to end of May, then let's discuss that. But nobody is saying that one.
Okay. I think, Prof, because
you're all here, why you should discuss, let's discuss. What are you saying? You're all here now. Let's not wait till and go and come back.
Oh,
please, could you explain the question for us again? One on the theory.
The theory, okay. The theory is a very simple assignment. The objective is that you are supposed to take a theory that you know of and then review the theory. Do you understand me? So you are going to discuss the theory, the background of the theory, the assumptions and construct the theory has. If there have been any revisions of the theory, any criticisms of the theory, and then what are the measurable constructs? What do you measure? How do you measure the theory? And then what are the gaps in the theory? I've done it. This one is an assignment that has been done several times. I can even give you a sample to look at. And there's even a book published like that already by Jeffrey Miles. Let me see if I can find Jeffrey Miles' book and give it to you. You see how he discusses theories and in similar way. Jeffrey Miles, okay. Okay. Yes, I don't. Okay. So I've attached Jeffrey Miles' book here. Let me see if I can open it too. Jeffrey Miles. So this is Jeffrey Miles' book. Look at the theory. So look at the theory. Please, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Can you see this one? Capacity absorptive capacity theory. Criticism, yes. Measuring variables, suggesting for further research. Mine has different sections, but at least it gives you an idea. So to begin by explaining the theory, then talk about how people have criticized it. When you want how people have criticized it, you have to look into literature to see the criticisms that they give to theory. And this is something you do in your PhD. And then you look at the measurable variables. But this one, you didn't define them. I expect you to find the variables. This one just mentioned the papers that you can find the measurable variables. So that's how he does his own. But this is an example of what you are trying to do. And then let me see if I can find another one that. Okay. So what you start with is that you identify the theory you want to use, explain the theory. After explaining the theory, tell us how the theory was formulated. And after that, go into the assumptions and the constructs of the theory. So what are the constructs of the theory? What are the variables within the theory? And then define the variables. Then sometimes some theories have been changed since they were done. Sometimes like a theory like theory of planned behavior, there is decomposed theory of planned behavior. So other theories have come up. So let us know the new theories that have come up related to that theory. If there are criticisms and any critique for the theory, you can point them out. Sometimes you can just type criticisms for the theory and you can find it in Google Scholar like this. You can just type criticisms of the theory. Then measurable constructs. You tell us how it can be measured. For example, in quantitative studies, if the theory is a quantitative theory, how are the variables being measured? What are the questions that they build around it? Those ones, so you can give us examples of some of papers and how we can find how they measure the variable. How do they measure perceived plan? Oh, sorry. I went off, so I came back. Sorry. I was saying that the background is for telling us how the theory was formulated. The background is telling us how the theory was formulated and what went into the formulation of the theory and what the theory is about. The assumptions and constructs tell us the constructs of the theory and how and what they are defined as. The revisions to your theory tell us how have others used the theory. Did they modify it? Did they add some other things to the theory? The criticisms is any criticism that has come to the theory. Maybe you can discuss about 3 or 4 criticisms that have come to the theory. Usually the criticisms lead to the revision, so you can interchange 3 and 4 depending on your work. And the measurable constructs and variables are if people are using it in their work, how do they measure the variable? For example, you have a variable like subjective norm. How do people measure it? What are the measuring items for measuring them? quantitatively, or what is show us a questionnaire that the person uses and what questions did he put around the variables. That's for the future research. Usually in the end of the paper that use a theory, they will say that future research in using this theory should consider A and B. For example, in the commitment trust theory, much of the future research has been in how do you use it in online context. Now people are even talking about how do you use it in a mobile marketing context, commitment trust on mobile platforms. How do you use it in a mobile marketing context? And then how do you use an online marketing context? So there are different things you could look into depending on the theory you have used. Do you understand it now, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Prof.
Okay, then.
Yes, Prof. Thank you so much.
Okay, so now I'm asking a question. Are we saying that this is what we want? We want it to submit on the 8th of the month of May?
Well, Prof, 8 is close, given that we are submitting the first one on the 30th.
Which first one? That first one, a lot of people have submitted already, so that's not a question. That one, it was extended for people.
8 is close for me.
Sorry?
I'm saying 8 May is close.
But all of you are here, so
let's extend it. So
what are you posting?
This is my view.
Please discuss and let me know. I'm here listening to you, yes? Yvonne, are you not coordinating a discussion?
My colleagues, are you okay with the 8th?
15.
I think we need an extension. A little more.
Let's extend it by a week.
Please listen. Do we discuss it here, or we should take it to the page and give?
No, we are discussing it here. We finish and we.
Let's finalize. I think that the consensus is that we extend it by a week.
Okay, we are extending
so
it by what?
mid-May.
Mid-May.
That's right. That's right.
Mid-May should be
mid-May. Mid-May is
yes,
what date?
16th is fine.
So we're looking at
16.
thereabouts.
You are giving me when?
16th of May.
16th of May. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you for understanding.
So we agree that 16 May is when we.
Yes, Prof.
Extending it. Okay, we will do that. Work on.
Okay, Prof. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you very much. Okay, is there any other question? Then we can go. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you too, Prof.
Thank you
for your patience and time.
Okay.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Seriously. Thank you so much, Prof.
Okay, so when you go to the online platform, please, the video for last week is there. So try and, those of you who missed the class and have been asking, when you go to the online platform and section 5 and 6, you see the video there as case study development and writing, online interaction. So you see it there and then you can click on it and start watching it. That's what you see there.
Okay.
Is it possible to download it?
Yeah, you can download it. The download button is here. Can you see it? The download button is
here.
Okay.
Wait. Oh, I didn't see it. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you very much.
Okay, so everything is there. I'll try my best that the one that we just did today, I'll get it there for you during the week. Okay,
God
then,
bless
thank you
you
very
so
much. And
much.
see you.
God bless you.
Okay, then see you next time.
Bless you, Prof.
All the best.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very
See
much.
you, Prof.
God bless you.
I'll get back to you. Bless you.
Hey. Go Benga no. Yeah, say back to say it.
Okay, take care, everybody. Still social distancing. Don't forget that.